Okay, go for it. Recording. Oh, you didn't hear the sound.
Did we get everybody back? Okay. Sorry, we're having such a
Getting
good
lost.
time. You want to go back to the breakout room?
Yeah, we were just.
It is a small group, so why don't we introduce ourselves to each other now in the bigger room, and then Therese can get to know a little bit about you and where you are on your group, and then we can share what we had in our room. So let's go real quick. Name, club, and your occupation, what your profession is. So let's go, Arlene, then
Hi, Arlene with the Rotary Club of Kapolei, and I'm a massage therapist.
Hi, I'm Benson Medina, and I'm the district trainer. I'm with Rotary Club of South Hilo.
And Therese, Benson used to work at Bank of Hawaii a long time ago.
I'm telling you, his name looks familiar.
Yeah, in the ancient days when they had when they brought it by Pony Express. Yeah, I was there.
You had that look. I thought it was Pony Express days.
Yeah, Pony Express.
Okay, Evan, then Pokey.
Stagecoach.
Evan Tom with Rotary Club of Kahala Sunrise, and I'm a realtor global banker.
Hi, I'm Puki'i. I'm with the Honolulu Rotary Club. I'm a doctor at KKV and then interim ED and clinical operations at Lunalilo Home.
Sandy Batsui is our district governor-elect. So Sandy, go ahead.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Sandy, Rotary Club of Kaneohe, and I work at UH as a faculty member in student media.
Okay, Kayla and Nate.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla. I'm with Rotary Club of Hawaii Kai, and I'm a newly licensed real estate agent.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Nathan Cam. I'm the incoming president for the Rotary Club of Downtown Honolulu. And my real job is I'm a partner and president of public relations at Anthology Group. So nice to see everyone. Yeah. So we work with you, Therese. Yeah, we work a lot with your marketing team.
You guys are good. And what is that guy's name on the mainland that I worked with? He was phenomenal.
Oh,
I can't remember his name.
I don't.
That's okay. Side note.
Okay.
Discussion.
We'll sidebar that for later.
Okay, Tiara, then Matt.
Hey everybody, I'm Tiara. I'm at the Eco Rotary Club of Kaka'ako, and I also work at Bank of Hawaii. Hey Therese. I do operations there in the digital channel.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Matt McKeever. I'm the president of the Rotary Club of Hawaii Kai, and I'm employed by Colliers International. I'm a commercial real estate broker.
Okay, Eva, then Kelsey.
Hi guys.
Hi, good evening.
Eva, then yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eva Goye. I'm from the Rotary Club of Waikiki. I'm the florist.
Oh, thank you. Kelsey, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that, guys. So I'm Kelsey Briggs. I'm from the Lahaina Sunset Rotary Group. I'm with Maui Gym Sunglasses. I do a lot of their corporate gift events like Maui Gym Invitational, Hula Bowl, things like that. I've been with them for about 6 years now, but I recently relocated from the mainland about a year ago. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, Therese.
Yeah.
Everybody do a speaker view and see her in real life. Go ahead. All yours, Therese.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead and pull up my screen. And, you know, I ordered one of those light things so I could look really cool. And it didn't arrive yet from Amazon. So I'm in the dark, but that's okay. It's kind of creepy. It's a good thing. But hopefully you can see the my presentation. So I'm not going to put it in presentation mode just so I can see you guys still. And so again, talking today about VUCA, I kept it as 2020 because that's when things just went south. So I'm VUCA 2020, thriving in the age of disruption. And so I wanted to take you back. So this is, you know, we're starting the new year, but taking you back to last year. You know, I remember being really excited because we were starting a whole new decade. I had practiced my Barbara Walters 2020 because I was going to go around saying 2020, you know, because it was just exciting to start a new I'm sorry, is it decade? Did I say? I don't know what I said. So, but you know, this is the New Year's page here, and you know, January 1st, 2020. But little did we know on December 31st, 2019, a day before that, that was when the first understanding of the Wuhan virus came about. By January 11th, that was the first death. Apologies for something kind of dark, but January 21st was the first actual person came from Wuhan to the US in Washington State. So by January 21st, this was here on our shores and people didn't know what was happening. And, you know, things really put us into what's called a VUCA environment. You know, business as usual is not business as usual. And every single day I am experiencing different things that have really turned around the way that I think. And so let's go and talk a little bit about what VUCA means. So V is volatility. And we're in an ever increasing rate of change. You know, Matt, you may not remember, but Benson may. I mean, back in the old days, I had to get up and turn the knob on the TV channel just to watch another channel. That's why many of us were a little bit thinner back in those days, because you had to get up, turn it, get up, turn it. Or you had to get up and fix the rabbit ears on the TV so you could get the reception. For some of you on the call, you're going, what is she talking about? Was that the 20s? No, it was not that long ago. But you can see that, you know, change occurs really quickly and the pace of it changes really quickly today. Whereas, you know, before, it'd be years before things would change. So there's an ever increasing rate of that. And every time something new comes along, there's a speed and magnitude of change and volatility that it really puts us in kind of a different mode. Now, what does the brain do for us? I don't know, do you guys know the main function of the brain? Anyone want to shout it out? What is the main function of the brain?
The control center.
It's our control center, okay? And what does it do? What does it control? Or what does it make sure doesn't happen? I know we have the doctor on with us, but
make sure we don't die.
Thank you. That's exactly it. Thank you. The job of the brain is to keep us safe. And in order to keep us safe, what it does is it creates patterns and structures, and you do the same things again and again, you know. And unfortunately, when you get to my age, you got to make sure that you change stuff up too. You know, I'd be driving on the weekend, going to church on a Sunday, and end up at work, and I'm like, what happened? But that's because, you know, a lot of things are not firing in my brain. It's the same thing happening again and again. But in today's environment, because we see a lot of turbulence and unpredictability, you know, it puts us in a different mode, change and panic. And that's really what volatility means. And I don't know if you guys were doing this, but I was looking and getting every text I could to let me know, what does the count look like today? What's happening? Where are the cases concentrated? What's going on here? And that's just the mode that it put me in. Because again, change is not something that we like to do. The brain's job is to keep us safe. Therefore, it creates patterns. When those patterns are messed up or not going in the way that we expect, that's when it puts us in this VUCA environment. And so I had to remind myself, stop looking at this. But I got to tell you, every single day today, I get my Honolulu Advertiser first thing in the morning. I'm opening it up. I want to know how many cases there are. It'll give me an idea of how much panic I should exhibit, or hopefully not. So volatility, you know, the best way to counter volatility is making sure that everyone is clear about the vision. There's clear intent, there's clear direction. Because of course, when you join an organization or you work in a certain role, you should understand what the vision of the organization is so that the work that you do helps to realize that vision. But when you're in volatility, it's obvious that it's difficult to even think about the day-to-day or what you've been used to because you're so put off by what's happening around you. And so the way that we remind our managers and leaders of people in our organization again and again is, what's the vision? Continue to focus on that. Let's get everybody focused there instead of focusing on the pandemic, what's happening, how long do we work from home? I can't see my friends. In our case, there are a number of branches that are closed, including a number of our in-store branches. And so our in-store branch teams are now out assigned to different folks across the organization. And they keep saying, when's my branch going to open? I want to go back to my Ohana because that's the team, right? And so we got to keep them focused on the vision. You know, the next part of VUCA is uncertainty. And I wanted to take you back to, this day, and I can't remember, there was just a special on TV, and I thought Kayla was one of the people on that special that I watched. But uncertainty, it's about less clarity about the future and knowing that there's gonna be a lot more surprise events. And, if the brain's job is to keep us safe, if we create patterns and then there's uncertainty, and I can't predict what the future will be like, that puts me in a different space, in a space that maybe is not as effective as I normally can be. And so, I go back to the day when that ballistic missile threat, everyone received the text and people were going crazy. And if you watch the special, it's really jarring. They did a whole documentary about it and what people did. I gotta tell you, I am so happy. We watched a movie that night. I didn't wake up to 8:45. And luckily the ballistic, this crisis thing ended at 8:37. I remember the exact time because I was like, wait, what's happening? What's going on? I got all these voicemails and texts from my friends. And I was lucky enough to miss that particular instance. But, when there's uncertainty in the environment and you're unable to predict things, that really puts you at a disadvantage because, again, you want a pattern, you want to follow things that make sense to you. And so when there's uncertainty, right, there's a lot of impact on the brain because, again, the brain likes certainty and repetition. Change is not viewed positively because it leads to anxiety. When there's anxiety, there's fight or flight. And so, what do we do to counter uncertainty? And that is, have greater understanding. And what that means is, this is when you work on a team or you lead a team, you've got to be a lot more transparent. You've got to provide a lot more information. And the senior leaders in the organization, or you, if you are the one leading your team, has to be out there doing checkpoint in with folks, understanding where they are, also understanding, what are people not clear about, because we've got to fight this uncertainty and figure out new ways of doing things. And I remember our CEO at the end of January, beginning of February, was going, we're going to start planning to work from home. And we're like, what are you talking about? Why are we getting all excited? It's cool. We're going to be good, and thank goodness, because before the state went on to lockdown, we were working from home already. So we were lucky that we had thought ahead. Our IT team had already worked out how to build remoteness for us, 8-10 months prior, because we're always thinking about the future. And so when it came time that we had to do this, we all worked from home immediately. And in our parking garage, there was a kind of drive-through where people were coming in, picking up their laptops, turning things in, picking up a second monitor. I mean, they created this whole new way of doing things. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to jump on the opportunity and find a different way of doing the work that has to get done. And so here's the challenge. The next part of this VUCA is complexity. There's so many decisions that have to make. How do you kind of look at everything, get the information you need and analyze it, and then make decisions about, what to do next. And the more complex it is, the harder it is to analyze. And, because I work in a bank, and, banks are heavily regulated, right, Tiara? And it's just a place where you build a lot of process, you build a lot of backup. Benson, you remember, Naomi, you remember, there are things that we have to do. But you know what? The boss that I work for came from Silicon Valley. And every single day he challenges my thinking. Because in Silicon Valley, you're talking about a lot of tech startups. And so a lot of those startups don't make it. But it doesn't matter because they, on the spot, make decisions and move. And that's what he keeps telling me. We're going to make a decision. We're going to build something. We're not going to be finished with it. We're just going to launch what we have. And we're going to keep launching and keep rolling things out as we go because we need stuff now. And, for me, that's such a change in the way I've done things in the past. My boss prior to that was an old banker's, the old style, which is, I had to finish version 28 of my PowerPoint before she would even say it was good to go. That's not the environment we're in today, right? There's a lot of complexity. I think about it. I love these. I suffer from infobesity. Another thing, infobesity. I need information. I will go everywhere. I will call people. I will post something on Facebook. I still not so good at IG, but I try. I am going to get every piece of information that I can. My boss says, I need you to build out our whole diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what we're doing around that. And I'm like, what? I've not done something like that before. I need more information. So I think, that also leads to the complexity because obviously there's information pollution out there. We've seen a lot of that in the recent past. And then there's information anxiety, right? The gap between what we understand and what's really happening. And that's what your teammates, the people who work for you, are probably suffering from today. And that's why in our organization, we're about to launch something called, okay, don't tell anybody, because I'm launching it very soon. We're calling it Exec Connect. So Tiara, you'll be there. Exec Connect is what we call our executive committee, Naomi, the old managing committee. They are going to host a Pauhana every day. And any employee can sign up, connect with one of our executive committee members. get to know them, get to ask them whatever questions they have about what's happening, what's going on, where are we going. And there's a lot of change that's going to be happening. I mean, this Friday, on Monday is our earnings release, and there's going to be a lot of change that's going to occur for Bank of Hawaii. You'll see it in the newspapers, but we're preparing our organization for the kinds of change that are going to be coming, and the speed and the volatility of it. I mean, it's going to continue to pick up. So with complexity, we've got to have better clarity. We've got to simplify things. We got to use kind of our intuition. What's the right thing to do? Let's just go with that. And we have to leverage process thinking, which is really about making sure things are in place so that you can create things on top of that, right? Okay, the main things that have to happen are handled. What else do we do differently? And so complexity, clarity is key. And VUCA, the last thing is ambiguity. And here's the challenge. There may be no right answer because the information you have is going to be incomplete, or it might be contradicting, right? It may not be exactly what's happening, but even in ambiguity, we've got to go with what we can. We've got to move things forward. And if you work in an organization that may not be that agile, you might want to think about, how do you influence from the seat that you're in to help the organization be a lot more agile? And I'm working on a lot of different things around agility. And what do? You simplify things, you communicate, you're transparent, you help people understand change and what's going on for them as they manage change so that we can get to where we need to. And so, with ambiguity, the mindset is key. And all of you on this call, I want you to understand this thing about mindset. It's so funny when I put this together, I asked my husband, what does mindset mean to you? Well, help me understand it. My husband's like a blue collar dude. He looks at me, he goes, mindset. And I went, oh, nice. That's right. Your mind is set, And so I've been toying with this whole thing around, it's not mindset, because we've got to be able to be agile and move and look at our environment and respond in a way, in a VUCA way, and I'm going to build something out around this. So please don't steal it yet, guys. Mindset, we're going to shift from mindset to mindsight. Mindset to mindsight. You understand, the framework that you need, the minimum needed. All right, now let's look ahead. What's different? How do we do things differently? In our breakout session, Matt was talking about, he's a commercial real estate guy, and how he used to kind of do his hunting before. We call it hunting, Matt, in the bank. And so he's kind of changed the way that he's done things simply because this is the environment that we're in. And it's also interesting to hear the Maui Gym story that you were sharing earlier. I just forgot your name. Yes. Kelsey, was it Kelsey? I think it was Kelsey. And talking about, being a traveling corporate person and then now being in one place in the home office. I mean, talk about a shift. So all of us, how do we continue to kind of work on our mindsets and help shift to mindsight? What do we do differently? How do we move ahead? And so, with ambiguity, again, you're not going to have all the information you need. And that's why agility is going to be important. How you be decisive, innovative, embrace things, and be ahead of change. How do you see and read the tea leaves? I was doing a session with our senior leaders a few years back when our CEO was on his way to becoming the CEO. And he used to run what is our commercial banking area. And these guys deal with all the CEOs in town. Ward Village, all those things we were part of in financing. And so we were all talking about, oh my God, Peter Ho's our CEO. Peter's going to be the CEO. How is this business going to change? And I said, well, first of all, team, and these are all senior guys. Naomi, like Wayne Hamano was in there, right? I go, okay, so Peter's working on his 90-day plan, and all these senior people started laughing at me. And I was like, what's going on? I don't understand what's so funny. And they go, Therese, he finished that plan 2 years ago. And I went, what? Huh, interesting. Okay, tell me more. And this guy, this vice chairman tells me, Peter fashions himself or sees himself as the captain of a ship. When you turn a ship, you have to start 2 miles prior to the turn to execute that turn correctly. They said that's how he operates. And that's why at the end of January, beginning of February, he's saying, we're going to start working from home. Make this happen. Let's go. Because he saw in his own tea leaves what changes were going to happen and what we need to do as quickly as possible. So change agility is key so that we can fight VUCA. We fight volatility with vision, uncertainty with understanding, complexity with clarity, ambiguity with what? You just heard it? I thought the last one you would remember. Or you're either muted.
Agility.
Thank you very much. Okay, I was giving the answer here too. But two last thoughts to leave with you with, and I don't know if y'all know this Alvin Toffler. I forget what the name of the book is. Was it the year two? I forget what the name of his book is. He was a futurist. And he said, humans have a limited biological capacity for change. Again,
Future Shock.
Thank you, Future Shock. That's a famous book, right?
Future
and so
Shock,
yeah, and it's in my quote here too. So humans have a limited biological capacity for change. And when the capacity is overwhelmed, the capacity is in future shock. That's not, and this book, Benson, what? 50 years ago, 60 years ago. This is an old book from maybe the 60s, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Late 60s, early 70s. Yeah.
Okay.
Late 60s,
gotcha.
early 70s. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this was his quote from back then. That is not the quote of today. And change is all we are and who we are. And so what I'll leave you with is this, that, for us, the challenge is, again, this pandemic and, war and that kind of thing. Those are really big changes. But on a day-to-day basis, people don't resist change. They resist being changed. I've created a pattern for myself because my brain is keeping me safe. What you're doing is forcing me to change what I do. I don't want to change that, right? So that's where we have to have greater mind sight, not mindset. And I leave you with that. Questions, thoughts, anything to add?
Do you want to maybe give an example of, something that you're doing, I guess, in your professional role using VUCA? Can you give us kind of an example?
So I was working on what it was called our branch transformation. So I don't know if you know about Bank of Hawaii and all the changes that we've made. We've changed the way that our branches look and feel. We've added a lot more technology so that folks are not walking into the branch all the time. We're thinking about what the future needs to be. And so, our branch world, they follow processes and structures very, very, very tightly. They must, because we are keeping your money safe. We are ensuring that we follow what the regulatory agencies want us to do. We make sure that we don't let folks money launder. There is a list. I've got fingers and I don't have enough fingers and toes actually, of the things that they must pay attention to on a daily basis. So when we came in and said, this is completely going to change the way you do your work every single day, people were pretty freaked out, and people did choose to opt out because they didn't want to have to deal with all of the change that we were going to be going through. And so it was helping them understand the change, why it wasn't such a big deal. It's just changing our kind of view, our perspective, and that was a challenge for me to help folks get there because, they're valuable folks. But again, we do things to keep safe. That's what our brain does. And so, when you're not in safety, how can you change? And so I had to help folks really understand VUCA and change so that they understood what was happening to them and happening to them even physically and mentally.
Therese, go over those, one more time. There's volatility.
Yep. And I'll send this to you guys too. Uncertainty with understanding. For uncertainty, we've got to get more information so that we can be more certain, right? Complexity is with clarity because it's, and we make things so complicated. Why is that necessary? We can simplify, right? And then ambiguity with agility.
Agility, right. So
Therese,
and you know what? Yeah, no, me, go ahead.
You were talking about change within the company, and Nate was saying that they had to go over a learning curve with managing the staff, working remotely. And so we're going through the same thing with our clubs. We're trying to meet on Zoom. And so managing people, showing value, how do we engage? Those are some of the things that we're facing too in our own clubs. Balance between your home life and your work life. And how do you do that if you're home all the time, right? Whereas the kitchen is the work life.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
and there's this whole other thing that I won't have time to cover, but we talk a lot about, I'm gonna put some light on because I look kind of spooky, but change is spooky, resilience. And that's kind of a new topic that keeps coming up over and over and over again, because how do we make it through something like this that we're going through, and how do we build resilience? Well, change is what starts you to be able to build resilience, because the more that you have to pivot and change, the more resilient you become. And there are folks who are really challenged today, with dealing with, for me, the kind of work that I do, I'm a consultant internally. So I go and meet with people, I observe the environment, I talk to them, I do focus groups. Tiara is one of my favorite focus group members. I love to bring in the millennials, get an idea of what they're thinking, how do we change what we do to match up what they are looking for. And Tiara gave me some, like, hey, you guys got it. No, just kidding. But great ideas and kind of going along with the change with you, and just keeping it at top of mind. What's happening? Why am I uncomfortable? Oh, got it. You know what? This is way too complex to understand. We've got to talk about how to simplify this. So, it just again, not mindset, it's mindsight. Okay, what's happening here? How am I reacting? What's going on? All right, good. Okay, now I'm going to kind of how we can get out of, where we are today. Because if we're there and we feel like we don't have any way to get out, that's the challenge. And unfortunately, I believe that there are many who are experiencing that. We launched a pulse survey in our organization, Tiara, it's called Blue Pulse. And it's perfect timing. I launched that in April. And in fact, I pushed it back to April. It was supposed to launch in March, but it's perfect timing. We're hearing from our employees in real time, because they can access it 24/7 as well, what their biggest concerns are. And what I'm seeing and hearing, a lot of it is about, unfortunately, feeling disconnected and not connected. And so how do we do that? We need community. And so that's the reason why, I'm really focusing on different communities that are in our organization. How do we continue to prop them up? It's just exactly what you guys are doing with Rotary. How do you connect? How do we just keep connecting with people out there, in our struggle? Because, when you show vulnerability, that's when people want to come in and help. So I don't know that I answered any question. Was there even a question? But yeah, resilience. Sorry, that was kind of the piece here. Look it up. There's a lot of stuff out there today about resilience. If you have a team that you manage, and help you figure out where your team is and how do you help them move along where they need to. I wasn't going to tell you this, but people kept telling me, and I was getting irritated, so I decided to make up my own. So please don't sell this either. I got to sell it later for my retirement money. But I kept thinking about, everything that we are facing. People kept saying, Therese, we got to think outside the box. We got to think outside the box. And I got started getting irritated. And I went, I think outside the box all the time. That's why you guys get scared. You guys are bankers. And I'm like, I say things and they go, whoa, that's a little too out the box. My point is, there is no box. There is no box. We create a box because our brain is asking for patterns and a process. There's no box. There's a book, a marketing book, the famous one. What was it, like 5-6 years ago? Blue Ocean. But what the heck was it called, y'all? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you gotta grab the book. It's all about marketing. Yeah, right. I mean, because it's all about charting blue ocean, Red Sea, where different predators are attacking each other, right? Different companies, different. Oh, okay, great example. I got realtors, right? The realty companies. Oh yeah, don't go with Caldwell. What are you doing? Don't go with, go with us. We're better realtors here. And so that's kind of the Red Sea where banks are finding each other in different organizations. So, and that's why you got to think about the blue ocean, deeper out. It's not mindset. It's what? Thank you. It's mindsight. It's mindsight. There is no box, only blue sky.
So Therese, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You probably are one of the, there's I think some visionary type leaders out there, but you're probably in a more fortunate position than others with seemingly are crazy ideas and convince Peter. And I've sat in a room with Peter before too, but and you can sell it through to him and then pull to that have a good idea like this. They may even come away from this session tonight excited and energized. They want to take something back to their supervisor or boss. What would be some of your tips for maybe increasing your chance from 50-50 maybe to maybe 70-30 in influencing your superior perhaps to thinking a little bit differently in this vein? We're all human at the end of the day. So
sure. Yeah, I remember, and just because I've been around a while in my organization, I can just tell Peter anything. Sometimes though I've gotten a little bit burnt. I'm in the burn mode. What it is what was important to me when I first joined our organization, I had lived away from Hawaii for over 10 years. I didn't have the contacts that I needed in town to get me where I need to be. I lucked out in working at the Bank of Hawaii. And so the person that Naomi has kind of seen, that Tiara knows, was not the person who started at Bank of Hawaii. I spent the 8 to 10 months, my initial 8 to 10 months, pretty much observing, being more in the elevator. They're like, I heard you in the elevator. I'm like, I had to build my reputation first and show what I could do before and get some wins before I could turn around and do that. In this case, though, this is completely different. And so the question is, and I'll give it a great example of something that I've heard. Sometimes we learn something new and we get excited and we come back, sent this guy off to Harvard to get kind of his events leader, whatever. He came back and he decides the first day he's going to coach his boss. First day back. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is not a good time for you to, and make the guy, feel sorry for spending that money on you, right? It's about the way to influence that person. What's important to them? And that's why when I need to sell something to Peter, I think about what's important to him, because how can this idea help him realize what he wants to accomplish? And so oftentimes when we get excited about something, learn something, we want to sell it to someone, it's not that straight sell, right? It's the here and then the here and the here. You check it out with a couple of people first that know the way they think. You know, I know before I go to Peter in our organization, I'll go to someone, her name is Sharon Cross, because I know she knows how he thinks. I'm going to go, okay, this is the plan. What? She goes, you know what he's going to want? He's going to want this. I always have to think about selling it from their perspective, because I can be like, no, that's not how I'm going to sell an idea that is blue sky. I may have to break it down a little bit and sell the pieces that are palatable. So, you know, I do a retreat for our senior leaders every year, and I didn't tell Peter, but I decided to bring in someone who is very, very different and who's going to walk us through all these different kind of yoga moves and breathing things. And I knew he was going to have a connection if I didn't say anything. And so I had to go in and sell him right then and there just before it started. And I knew what was important. And I got their concerns. I eliminated what their concerns were. And in some cases we couldn't, but here's a workaround. Can you consider this idea? And, you know, as long as you think it from the perspective and who you're selling it to, I mean, that's really the first thing, right? I mean, I'm sorry, it's not rocket science. It's really about, you know, how do you drip a little bit, or how do you go for the big banana?
That's great.
Think about that. Yeah, I'll think some more about that.
No, it's great. That was really good advice. Thank you.
What about the other rooms? What were some of the other concerns that came up in the other breakout rooms?
I'll take the floor, because one thing that keeps coming to mind here, you know, a common theme was kind of just, you know, the limited human interaction and being able to go out and gather, you know, in person. So one thing that we did in work differently, and one thing that we did in the Rotary Club differently, is we really turned to social media. And with some of, you know, the old school brokers in our company and some of, you know, the older members within the club, you know, getting them to understand the idea of, hey, we could do our fundraiser without a physical event, but doing it through, you know, a GiveSome page or an online platform. But it was very much so, you know, trying to sell them on this idea and make it clear and make it understandable and palatable. But I think one thing that we were doing was, you know, going out, we had a social media team within our Rotary Club, and then within, you know, work, I kind of identified a couple of brokers that were already on social media, kind of sold them on the idea of, hey, maybe our Colliers team should have a social media profile, and kind of sold them on the idea. And we started working on things, and then it kind of caught on and it went to the higher ups, and now everyone's involved, and we have a social media page for our Colliers Hawaii account. Same thing with our major fundraiser, the Duck Dash. You know, they've done it for 6 years the same way, right? They've knocked on doors. They only know it how they've done it, right? And, you know, I guess we won't have to pay for anything if we do it online. We don't have to go out. We don't have to contact people. We can send out messages. But it's been, you know, the past month or two of our Rotary meetings, we share the screen, we go through the analytics, we show them exactly what's going on, you know? So it's very much, that's what keeps coming to my mind. And, you know, in both these come from conception to like where we're at now, and everyone's starting to just kind of get it, whether it's within the company understanding that social media is a good way to farm leads, or whether it's our fundraiser and the fact that we can't hold it at the shopping center is a great way to do it. So I just had to throw it out there because that's what keeps coming to mind.
Nice.
And just wanted to share.
You know, it reminds me of, I took a class from this well-renowned professor, a diffusion of innovation. So, you know, whenever you want to roll out innovation, you want to grab those early adopters to help you sell it. And your early adopters, your innovators, early adopters, late adopters, and whatnot. You can go back and I'll put it actually in the deck because I have it there. But you know, who do you leverage? You know, who do you help you sell the idea? Is that yet a whole nother thing? Because it's all about the sell. That's really what it is. So, great example, Matt.
We didn't talk about it specifically, but I guess for kind of the same thing that Matt had said, that I think a lot of the businesses have really accelerated how you go online. So one of my friends, he owns the Koa Pancake House, and so they actually used this overnight, and they really pushed up mobile and app ordering, and that pretty much accounted for somewhere between 20 and 30% of where their business has gone. You know, comparable would be L&L Drive-In has been doing really well because they've been very focused on a lot of their mobile ordering. I think in this day and age, especially because we can't meet with each other, that's much more you share about your life and people react to it. So that's one of the ways that I kind of keep in touch with my sphere outside of call. I agree with a lot of those points. I would say our culture has been very much fairly open about trying new things, but they just required some push to actually try to do it and some leadership. So we've had a couple online fundraisers. We've fundraised about $1,000. I think social things online is difficult. So we kind of just rolled it into fundraisers where it's kind of a social thing with a fundraising component. And the other way is we do try to have monthly projects to keep bi-weekly events. I do have breakout rooms. So that kind of gives some of the ways for people to interact with each other on a smaller basis.
Just out of curiosity, has anybody's Rotary Club gone back to in-person meetings in any format or hybrid or anything like that, or is everyone pretty much virtual still yet?
Our club has done a few in-person gatherings. So when we did, like, I think we've done 3 so far, but they're typically hosted in an area that not like an indoor setting or anything like that. Masks are usually on unless the person's eating. So definitely, you know, keeping safe during those, but our weekly meetings are still via Zoom. It's only if it's like a special occasion or something like that.
So Nate, she's on Maui, and then in Kona, they are meeting also in an outdoor bar or something. Honolulu Sunset is looking at Yacht Club, but there are many concerns about still trying to meet. And so I wanted to ask Poki, what, is it okay to meet or what? What is your opinion?
No, we're still in tier 2. So groups of 5 or less, 6 feet apart, mask on. So sorry, that's gonna be mine. I'm super strict in shields and all that. So
okay, sorry. Therese needs to leave, so let's give her a hand and thank you, Therese.
Thank you, Therese.
Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome.
Okay. Yeah, so it depends, Nate. So it depends on the venue, on where you're meeting, if they're going to allow it or not. So the Yacht Club is thinking they can. That it doesn't comply with what the rules are because it's a Rotary, right? So it's not 5 people. But anyway, talking about the distance, thinking outside of the box. This is something that we need to do. And like Nate said, finding value for your staff, for your members, is something that you need to keep in mind. And Matt, so that I've all this with people in your own club, that was really good advice. So next month, Evan has volunteered to give us some Toastmaster tips. Evan, do you want to give us an idea?
Yeah, so so typically the structure for Toastmasters is you kind of go over some roles you do, main speaking, and the big thing would be some table topics. So I would say for me, just as an introduction to public speaking, and I know you guys are very good public speakers, would be a little bit more where I would just share a prepared speech about, I don't know, Rotary or whatever. And then we'll do a lot of table topics and kind of do like a summary of how the answers were, how the responses were, as a way to kind of focus on this, improve on it.
Thanks. Yeah, so when you network, the public speaking will come in very handy, right? And so we'll learn something about that. But what do you guys think about if we bring in a CEO, so say of a company, and they can talk about how they run their company, their philosophy, and just maybe talk for 10 minutes about how they got to where they are and a little bit about their company. Would that be of interest to you guys? So every meeting we bring in a CEO. Okay, so these meetings are open to anybody. So bring your friends, let other people know. We sent out the invite to you guys because you had your birthday on the district website, but some people don't have their birthday, so we don't know if they're young professionals or not. We're inclusive, so whoever wants to come to these meetings can come. Okay, so any last comments, other concerns you want to bring up?
Thank you for putting it together. Yeah, thanks for bringing us all together. It was a great little huddle, so looking forward to the future events.
Thanks,
yeah,
Matt.
I agree. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye.